Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I have not one but two cards for you guys. Now this is a 2-for-1 technique where you use a large stamped image, be it any floral image or any other border image. You could use that and create two cards using just one single image. Now, if you're someone like me who loves creating A2 size cards and your images are larger than your A2 size panel, this would be a perfect technique where you could create two cards using just one single image. Now, for my focal point, I'm using this large, beautiful floral image from the Graceful Flowers Stamp Set, which was part of the Simon Says Stamp August 2024 card kit. Now, this is a perfect floral theme stamp set. We have this beautiful big floral arrangement and a little flowers on the bottom where you could use that as your focal point. Also, there are some beautiful sentiments and beautiful font on these sentiments, which would be absolutely perfect for your card front. So I plan on watercoloring my image today. For that, I used the watercolor paper that was provided in the kit. I cut this to be 5.5 by 4 1/4 inches, which if folded would be a standard A2 size card base. I placed this paper onto my stamping tool and aligned the floral stamp. And well, I will be stamping this using the Simon Says Stamp Clear Embossing ink. Now I want to emboss this entire image using some gold embossing powder, which I thought would add a lot of shine to our watercolored image. Now here I am using the anti-static powder tool, which here is important because, well, first of all, it's very difficult to see this stamped image onto the watercolor paper. So you need to make sure that you get proper lines, and also since this paper has a lot of texture, I stamped it twice. Now even though I had used a lot of that anti-static powder tool, a lot of powder got around the area where the image was not stamped. So I cleaned that with my brush, paint brush. You could use any thin or flat headed paint brush for that. Now I'm using my heat tool to heat set this beautiful gold embossing powder. Now I stamped this image on one corner of this watercolor paper because I knew that I needed some space to stamp my sentiments on both the panels. Now to color these floral images, I have the watercolor brush markers by Altenew. This is the Spring Garden set, which has some really beautiful and vibrant colors. Now these are dye-based watercolor inks. They are water reactive and you can move and revive the ink when it dries up. Well, I started with this bright pink color and I wanted to do a little bit of shading here. So I added some extra saturated ink onto each of the corners of this flower, and then all I need to do is put in some water and just pull out the saturated ink towards the other corner of the floral image. Now the bristles on these brush tip markers, they are flexible. They form both broad and fine strokes. Now you could apply colors straight from the marker, or if you want a more diluted and muted look, you could dilute it with water for more softer look. Now this is a non-drip valve which gives a consistent ink release and there is no color contamination. So even if you need a lot of color, you would want to press out the color and you can be rest assured that the color won't just leak out of these nibs. I added a hint of purple to my flowers, and if you see here how beautifully the purple and pink have blended. For my leaves, I used two shades of green. I have moss and emerald. It definitely gives a very beautiful dimensional look to my leaves, and also I love how stunning these flowers look with the shades of bright pink and that purple. Now, if you find it difficult to blend both of these inks together and if you feel that your paper is too dry, all you need to do is dip the nib of your paintbrush in some water and just pull out the ink. For the center of my flowers, I used some oranges and yellows, and take a look at how gorgeous this focal point turned out. Well, you could also use this image to make mini slimline cards or even a regular slimline card. I made sure my panel was completely dry before I went ahead and cut these into two A2 size panels. Here, both of these panels measure 4 by 5 1/4, which will leave a slight border around all of the edges when we place it on our card base. Now here I am trying to figure out what sentiment would work best for these cards. Initially I had thought that I would stamp two separate sentiments, thereby creating two totally different cards. But I ended up stamping the same, sending love and hugs on both of these panels. I love how this looked with the floral background. Now I used the same gold embossing powder to stamp both of these sentiments. I like to use my Simon Says Stamp grid transparency sheets to align my sentiments and make sure they are perfectly centered or in a straight line. Now, when I am heat embossing multiple card panels, what I like to do is do one step at a time. So here you'll see I am stamping and pouring the gold embossing powder on both these panels first, and then after that I will heat set it both together. Now, since the font on this sentiment is really delicate and thin, I decided that when I am running my heat gun through the paper, I will keep moving it along the sentiment and not hold it at one place for a long time. Now, here's a look at how this panels turned out. I love the gorgeous color, and the gold just pops the entire image together. Now I adhered both these panels onto a green card base, and well, I needed some extra dimension, so here I am using foam tape to mount these panels onto my card bases. I'm glad I trimmed both of these panels to be 4 by 5 1/4 because I love the green trim. Now here I use some gold confetti sequences by This Calls for Confetti, and also stamped the same floral image for the inside of the card. Now here's a look at our finished cards. I absolutely love how this project turned out. There are so many different ways you could use this stamp set. Well, like I said, you could create slimline cards, or if you like creating bigger cards, you could use the entire image, or you could even cut out this image and make your own floral arrangements. Now, if you're not into watercoloring, there are so many other coloring ways that you could color these beautiful floral images and use them on your card front. Now, the other floral image that was part of the stamp set, you could use that as your focal point if you're not someone who likes big floral stamped images on your card front. I hope you had fun watching today's video and got inspired. Well, I definitely had a lot of fun creating these cards. Thank you for joining me today. See you in my next video. Until next time, stay safe.